Give you what you need to tech news and lab interviews. What's going on, y'all? Give you what you need to tech news and lab interviews. Jared Jared. What's going on, y'all? Give you what you need to tech news and lab interviews. What's going on, y'all? Jared.
What's going on, y'all? It's Jared giving you what you need in news and interviews. And today on the Lanyard Legend Show, I have Mr. Larry Bambino Jr. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem, no problem. Thank you for being on here. So Larry is born from New Orleans. He's currently the CEO of N.O.R.D, New Orleans Recreational Department. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself to my listeners?
Sure. First of all, good evening, everyone. And I want to thank you all for chiming in and talking with my guy, Jared. My name is, again, Larry Bambino Jr., and I'm the CEO of New Orleans Recreations Development Commission, famously known as N.O.R.D. Born and raised in New Orleans, a Seventh Ward guy. I grew up in St. Bernard Housing Development. I attended Phillips Elementary, Phillips Junior High. I was a proud graduate, John F. Kennedy. Also, I'm a graduate of Southern University at New Orleans, and I'm just a naturally native New Orleanian.
All right. So before we get into the interview, remember, y'all, make sure y'all like, follow, share this video, comment, subscribe. Very appreciated. All right, so let's talk about your story. Let's talk about where you we already said where you come from. So let's how did you ride from coming from being raised in New Orleans all the way up to the ranks of CEO of N.O.R.D?
Sure. I tell folks that, you know, my story is, I guess, in a sense, unique because I started my career at N.O.R.D at Willie Hall Playground back in 1979 at 8 years old, playing football for Willie Hall Playground, baseball, and over the years played at Willie Hall afterwards while in college. And I didn't go to college, actually, till I was 21 years old. I'm a person that, you know, grew up chasing, just wanted to enjoy life and really didn't have the direction that I needed as it relates to going to college while coming out of high school. My mom was at work at a Krause department store. My dad was at work at Winn-Dixie Warehouse at that time. And then he wound up working at St. Louis Cathedral, where he just retired. But my parents instilled that you need to go to work, you need to go to work, you need to go to work. So after finishing high school, I went to Delgado Community College and got a certification in welding. And it was funny how I did that because my dad was like, listen, you need a job after graduating high school. He's like, you need a job. And I looked through the newspaper and I was like, okay, what pay money? So going through the newspaper, I said, okay, welders make pretty nice money. So I looked at Delgado and I went to a training program where I became certified in 1990. I went from 89 to 90. I got certified in MIG, TIG, heliarc, and stick welding. And I went straight to work it was American Marine Shipyard. And I came to find out what hard work really was. We worked 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. The only day I had off was Sundays, and all I did was rest that Sunday.
Right.
I was 19 years old. 19 years old, and I was working, and I'm working there for a while. And I had an old guy who was a ship fitter that always told me working there, he was like, you different. He kept telling me, say, you different. You don't belong here. And I'm like, what you mean? He was like, you different, older guy. And he's like, man, listen, he said, this trade pays real good money. He was a ship fitter, older guy. He said, but I work hard because I don't want my kids to work this hard. I've sent all my kids to college. And he said, of the guys that I see coming through this yard and working at this yard, he said, there's something different about you. And he would always talk to me. And one day had a foreman that just was hard on me. And the guy looked, he said, it's not for you. And I said, you know what? You're right. I quit. I got up. I quit. I said, man, I'm going to school. You know, and he clapped. He said, I don't want to see you no more. But in the process, he said, I don't want to see you here no more. You know, so I left. You know, and I enrolled in Delgado in enrolled in Suno in 1991.
Oh, so you didn't go to Delgado? Oh, you went to Delgado for welding.
I went to Delgado for welding,
Yeah,
89,
okay,
90, right out of high school. But I
Oh,
enrolled in
dog.
SUNO in 1991. And while at SUNO, I'm going around the neighborhood and going around the playground, and my old coach told me, he said, man, he said, listen, Coach Melvin Fat Bush, he's known as Coach Fat. Coach Fat said, Larry, I need you to do something for these kids that I did for you out this neighborhood, around old St. Bernard Housing Project, Willie Hall. I said, what's that, Coach? He said, listen, I need you to come coach. I said, Coach, I don't have time. I was working at LSU at the time. I was going to SUNO. I said, Coach, I don't have time. He said, listen, he said, I just need you to show up the day of the game and give them kids a ride, man. He said, you remember when you was a kid and y'all used to have to come to the park and pay Mr. Green a quarter to get in the back of his truck to go to the game? I said, yeah. He said, I need you to come and get these kids a ride. He said, because they don't even have a quarter. So I said, okay. So it was funny. Myself and a good friend of mine, Key Branch, we showed up out there, get the kids a ride. We at the sideline, But one thing he did, I'm gonna tell you something that he did that right now that I do. When I showed up out there, he introduced me to all the kids. He said, okay, y'all, listen, this Coach Larry and Coach Keith. He gave us a title. Instantly, he said, it's Coach Larry and Coach Keith. It's like, okay. So we gave him a ride. So we joke and say, I guess we the coaches that give rides, So we go to the game and we're on the sideline. So we try to give input. And Coach Fat was saying, hold up, no, stop. So we trying to give input. He said, stop. I said, Coach, why can't, I know the kids from the neighborhood. He said, listen, until you come to practice, you can't give input in the game. He said you could give them rides and you could buy them hamburgers after the game, but you can't give input. So we started going to practice in 1991, and I started coaching at Willie Hall. And from there, while in college, when I graduated college, I was still coaching in Willie Hall, and the position came open to manage N.O.R.D, St. Bernard Recreational Center in the neighborhood. So we had a big meeting because the center manager was never there. We'd take the kids to a game, and we'll come back, and the center locked, the kids' school uniforms and clothes in there. We can't get them. So we called to meet with N.O.R.D. The community called to meet with N.O.R.D. So the then N.O.R.D director was Angel Wilson. And they said, hey, listen, okay, we can get rid of him. Do y'all have someone y'all could recommend? So the community member said, Coach Larry, he have a degree.
Just like that.
It was like he have a degree. So I said, okay. So I applied for the job. I got the job. I started work because I graduated. Well, let me say this. I coached and I graduated college in 96. So I applied for the job and I started working towards the end of 96 at St. Bernard Center. And that's what started my N.O.R.D career. But I always tell folks my N.O.R.D career started at the playground. It started at a playground, coming back, volunteer coaching, so I started working for N.O.R.D. I did about 5-6 years at St. Bernard Center till I left and worked for Tulane University as a senior programs manager. And Katrina hit, and I was asked to apply for the N.O.R.D's director position under Mayor C. Ray Nagin then. And I applied, and I was given a position initially as the interim director, and then I became the director of N.O.R.D. And from there, I worked through his term, and I left and went and worked for a Children's Defense Fund for a short spell. And then I started my own consultant firm, the Barabino Group, LLC. And I started doing some FEMA work down in St. Bernard Parish. And then I wound up working for Hano. And I did 8 years working at Hano. I managed the DBE, WBE Section 3 programming for Hano for about 7 years. And then, of course, on the American Trail, they announced that they were looking for a new CEO of N.O.R.D, and they was doing a national search. And I was asked by a few friends and a few influential people to say, hey, man, listen, submit your resume. So I submitted my resume, and out of 100 plus candidates, out of 100 plus resumes they received, they broke it down to about 15 candidates that they did phone interviews with. Out of the 15 candidates that they did the phone interviews with, they broke it down to 3 that did in-person interviews. So we did a in-person interview with the community out of city council chambers. It was an open forum. And then from there, we did an interview with the N.O.R.D commissioners. And then we did an interview, one-on-one interview with the mayor. And from that, I was selected unanimously from the search committee and the commission to be the next CEO of N.O.R.D. And, you know, so it's not like it was a political favor or anything. I went through a true process, through a national search to come out to be the CEO of N.O.R.D.
Wow, that's what's up. That's nice. So how was it going through the interview process? What were some of the questions? Because a lot of people don't have insight how someone who's applying to be a CEO of an organization, so give me some type of questions they will ask you.
Sure. I mean, listen, one of the first questions, and I'm gonna tell people this when I do interviews, and I don't do it too often, but when I do interviews, the first question I ask, and this is a question that everyone should try to score 100 on, is tell me about the organization you're applying for. If you can't tell me about the organization that you're applying for, why are you the right person for the job? I've hosted interviews for some key positions with N.O.R.D, and I would ask that question, and persons would tell me, well, you know, N.O.R.D do football and baseball, and, you know, they do the sports and this and that. And believe it or not, the sports of N.O.R.D is only one component of it. You know, I manage a $16 million budget. We have almost 200 properties, you know, and I was able to give them the story of N.O.R.D. I knew that N.O.R.D started in 1947 under Mayor Delishep Chep Morrison, who was the first person to get N.O.R.D started. And N.O.R.D's initial playgrounds were adjacent to elementary schools because N.O.R.D then served K through sixth grade kids, because back then junior high schools had all of its own sports and activity programs, so did high schools. But their initial group that they served were K through sixth grade, and N.O.R.D initial employees were school teachers, were educators. Most of N.O.R.D original playgrounds and et cetera were managed by the PE teachers of the schools that was adjacent to it. The primary persons that weren't educators that worked for N.O.R.D was the administrative side, you know. But also part of my interview process, you know, they asked about the budget and managing the budget of N.O.R.D and how does the budget work. And, you know, there were questions that was actually, well, if this playground received less money than that playground, how can you make them equal? And to know city government is, in particular, N.O.R.D budget isn't broken down by individual sites. N.O.R.D budget breaks down by divisions. There's the administrative side of N.O.R.D. There's the recreational centers. There are playgrounds. There's maintenance. There's aquatics. And there's multi-programs. N.O.R.D budget breaks down to those divisions. Then you have two sides of the budget. You have the personnel side, which is the staff and salaries. Then you have the operational side, which is the money to put on the programs, to buy the supplies, equipment, things like that. N.O.R.D also receives a little over $1 million in CDBG funding, Community Development Block Grant funds, which is used to host summer programs. That's why N.O.R.D either hires staff to host summer programs or partner with other entities and agencies that will come in and host programs at N.O.R.D facilities or at their facilities. And I guess by me being the past director of N.O.R.D, I knew the inner workings of the budget. I knew how everything broke down. So going through the interview process, and of course, there's always the question of, you know, questions always ask, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? And often enough, when asked those questions on the interview, your weakness should actually be a strength. You know, meaning that if you ask my weakness is I don't give up on a project. I work, I see it through, you know, and it's my continuous dedication to a project. Some folks consider that as a weakness at times. But, you know, it's also, I'm big on building morale, building the staff's morale. I work great as a team, but I do fine on individual projects. You have to be able to do both. You know, so those are some of the kind of interview questions that's asked. You know, how do you handle situations with irate parents with different activities? Because we do serve the public. We do serve the public, and there's certain things that you have to do, and there's, certain ways you have to know how to manage that. But,
That's a lot. I didn't even realize CEO had to manage all that. Okay.
yes.
So you're doing all that, and then this pesky little thing called COVID affects the world. So how did that impact you running your operation in N.O.R.D? Since we can't, since we all couldn't be near each other, we had to practice social distancing, wearing masks, everybody working from home. So how did that impact the organization?
Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you what, that's a phenomenal question. One thing that I say is I always speak to folks and I always tell folks change is inevitable. Change is going to happen whether you want it to or not, whether you woke or sleep, whether you're paying attention or not. Change is going to happen. When COVID hit, the world had to stop, had to adjust, and had to change. With N.O.R.D, we shut down all programs. We had to adjust. Technically, the city and the world shut down. But with our constituents and residents working from home, being at home, what did they do? If you paid attention, folks went out and started buying bicycles. Folks started going out taking walks, going to parks, playgrounds. So we had to initially have some of our staff go on civil leave. Those persons that were able to work from home, they were issued a laptop, and that was more or less the administrative side, the management side, were able to work from home. But our maintenance department never stopped. We did two things. Our maintenance department continued to go out and clean parks, clean playgrounds, sanitize equipment, different things like that. However, we took advantage of it and took our work order list and we started repairing things. We started fixing HVAC systems in our building. We had challenges of shutting facilities down. We were able to shut facilities down, drain our indoor swimming pools and repaint the swimming pools and freshen up the pools and do different things. But strategically, we took our cultural programs and we transitioned them to online. We took our Fit-NOLA programs to where that it was in person and you had 50 to sometimes 100 people at Milne Center doing line dance or doing the fitness classes. We took those programs and we transitioned them to Zoom classes and started filming them and putting them on the N.O.R.D YouTube channel. So you can definitely go to nordc.org and you can go and see all of the programs that N.O.R.D offer. Also, you can download the N.O.R.D app. It's N.O.R.D Commission app. You can download that app and you can see what's going on with N.O.R.D. But with that, as we shut down, as we went to cleaning, we went to preparing and planning because we started looking at if we have to host summer camps, how would that look? So we knew that the kids were shut down from school. They were home from school and from March all the way coming through June. So we had some of our partners saying, hey, let's do virtual summer camps. I talked to our mayor, Mayor Cantrell, and she was like, and I also talked to Dr. Vegno, she's the director of New Orleans Health Department, who we definitely leaned on heavy for her guidance while navigating COVID. And they say, hey, Larry, listen, put together a plan and we'll see how you can do summer camps. So my team put together a plan. If you heard what I said, my team, I have a phenomenal team, a phenomenal staff at N.O.R.D. And we sat down, we put together a team with COVID guidelines. So the first thing happened is if you pull up at a N.O.R.D, if your kid was registered at a N.O.R.D camp and you pull up at the doors, you couldn't get out the car. You drop the kid off. The kid got his temperature checked. We asked the questions to the kids and the parents. Have you been around anyone that's been affected? Is anyone in the household sick, dealing with COVID? If that kid had a high temperature, if that kid said they'd been around someone affected, they were put back in the car and they had to leave the camp and they couldn't come back until they had a negative COVID test result. But once they came into the building, we did a 9-to-1 ratio. It was 9 kids, 1 summer camp counselor, and they were in a group in one room every day of the camp. the kids couldn't commingle with other groups, they were called cohorts. So we had cohorts throughout the building, but the kids didn't commingle. The kids, they only played in their groups. We had hand sanitizer. We had extra staff cleaning the building. The staff and everyone was required to wear masks. No one can come in the building. And the only person that was able to, that were allowed in the building was the staff that was working. No outsiders could come in the building at all. However, the great thing about it, Dr. Vegner set it up with us, and I'm grateful for the partnership we had with Ashna, is our camp counselors took a COVID test every week. Every week. And they were out of the 6 weeks of summer camps, and out of the 20 summer camps we hosted, we had 3 people to test positive. But when they tested positive, we got the results back on that Sunday. They tested that Thursday or Friday. We got the results back that Sunday. That person was shut down, and their group, their cohort, the 9 kids that they work with, they were shut down as well. They were called that Sunday not to report to camp until they sat out 14 days with no symptoms and are tested negative to be able to return. And it worked. And listen, the schools paid attention. I was talking to different Parks and Rec departments around the country because we did a weekly conference call, the Parks and Recs directors and executive directors and leaders around the country. And I was explaining to them how we did it. The biggest thing we did was, one, we kept those kids in their group. Every group had their own everything. They own ball, they own equipment, they own electronics, and we sterilized everything, sanitized everything every day, multiple times a day. And the key thing was doing the testing. So that was big for us. But when we were able to open up, the first things we opened up were our tennis facilities, because tennis is a non-contact sport. We opened up our outdoor programs. And if a person have not been to Joe Brown, you need to visit Joe Brown. Excuse me. We have a phenomenal outdoors program at Joe Brown.
Yeah, even archery.
We have archery. We have canoeing. We have fishing. We have camping. Yes. We have a phenomenal outdoors program.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Yeah, also got the new stadium as well, right? Didn't you redo the stadium out Joe Brown?
Actually, they didn't redo it. They built the brand new, and that's a brand new turf football stadium that was sponsored by Nike and All-State Sugar Bowl. And there's also a track and field stadium that's also sponsored by Nike and All-State Sugar Bowl. And there's also an indoor swimming pool. That's another thing that we did is as we were looking at the guidelines as it relates to aquatic programs, and we opened swimming pools, but they were restricted to lane swim only. Based upon CDC guidelines, we couldn't do the community swim. We couldn't do the group swim. We were only able to do lane swim, lap swim only, where a person was able to swim up and down in their lane. So, and everything is done by an appointment. We were able to open, we have 11 multi-purpose centers. 6 of the multi-purpose centers have fitness rooms. You can go on NORD's website, nordc.org, and look. And you can also, we have everything set up today by reservation. So you can schedule an appointment to go to the pool or go to the fitness center and work out. And we have it set up by reservations to ensure that everyone have their fair opportunity to go swimming. And of course, participate in those other programs.
Of course. All right. That's good information. I didn't even know that all the stuff you did about camping and stuff like that. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So how was it? I know you did with like sports and parents get a little crazy. So how do you handle the irate parent who thinks their son deserves to be treated differently or better, or they need to be on an all-star team or something like that?
Sure. Listen, one thing I tell my staff to do is always remain respectful. However, if a parent gets out of control and becomes a threat or danger, we call the police. But at our football games, we have either NOPD or the Orleans Sheriff's officers there. But we have a phenomenal partnership relationship with NOPD, with the different district commanders and captains. And it's unfortunate, it's very unfortunate of some of the challenges that we face with parents for 5, 6-year-old, 12, 11, 12, 13-year-old kids, you know, but what it does is, and this is what I explain to the coaches, and I tell the coaches, I say, hey man, listen, they're the three most important men in a young man's life. One is dad. The second one is grandpa or pawpaw or poppy, whatever we affectionately call them. And the third one is coach. And sometimes, unfortunately, the first two are not there, and coach is the only one that's there. Because every kid that played little league sports anywhere in this world, you ask them, they can always tell you who their coach was. Because coaches make a major impact in kids' lives. But I tell a coach, I say, hey man, listen, I want you to pay attention. What you put out, they take in. So if you stand on the sideline and you cuss, or you get disrespectful with the officials, and you're arguing with the officials or the umpires, the referees, whether it's football, baseball, or basketball, if you're doing it, then that kid think it's all right and okay to do it because my coach did it. My coach talked crazy to him, so I can. But the biggest unfortunate side is to sit at some of these games and watch a parent from the stands screaming at the coach, this man or woman that give 2-3 hours a day, 4-5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week, spending their time coaching, training, teaching, mentoring these kids, screaming and howling at the coaches because they're not winning, or because the kid that they feel is not getting ample and fair playing time. What we try to tell all of our parents and even our coaches, those who try to live vicariously through these kids, is N.O.R.D is developmental recreations. It's for development. We're here to develop these kids, because you'll see a kid that plays running back at a playground because he's real fast, go to high school and become a cornerback. You know, often enough, you don't see these kids, the positions they're playing at a playground, be the positions that they play when they get to high school. You know, because the kids often enough, their skill sets evolve. You know, so, but it's always a challenge. And for all your listeners, all your parents, you know, I ask them, when you go out there with your kids, remember what you're doing. Because often enough, sometimes you're ruining your kids' experience when you're an irate parent. You're ruining your kids' fun when you're fussing and you're performing out there. You know, it's not about you. It's about that kid. Those kids are supposed to have fun.
Right. I agree with that. I've coached. I was a coach at a couple of at Millennium.
Okay.
And, I witnessed what you're discussing. They get a lot right, but most of the time it's fun. We having fun, and kids enjoy it. All right.
Right.
So, what was that moment that you? I would say. Well, before I ask you the question, so what was the worst thing you think you had to handle at N.O.R.D, being the CEO?
Wow. The hardest thing I had to handle was, and it's throughout my course of being there, is losing staff members. I've had staff members to pass because of COVID. I've had staff members to take sick at work and pass. But one of the hardest things is losing a good staff member. Besides that, you know, when you're in management, you know, you have to be prepared to take disciplinary actions for persons that do not perform their job or do not want to do the right thing as it relates to their job. Now, I can tell you today, the hardest thing that I have to do today because of COVID, because of restrictions, is go to a playground and take a basketball goal and rim down and tell a kid that they can't be on this playground playing. Or go out to Joe Brown where you have kids out there playing flag football in 7-on-7. And you have to shut that down because of COVID guidelines. Those are considered contact sports. And I've had a kid to tell me, mister, I could be on a corner doing horrible things. All I want to do is play basketball. And I tell him, I say, listen, man, I apologize. I truly apologize. Because we've always encouraged kids, get out the streets, go to the playgrounds, go to the rec centers, Go do positive things. Do things of that nature there. And now we're telling kids, hey, you can't go to the parks because basketball is a contact sport. We took over 130 basketball rims down from over 60 basketball courts citywide.
Wow.
Because the CDC and the health department says that basketball is a contact sport. And of course, bumping up into each other, being on top of each other, sweating, sneezing, breathing hard can easily transmit it. These kids can transmit it. And the key thing is the kids survive, but they bring it home to their parents and their grandparents who might have underlying conditions, who often enough are the ones that get sick and the ones that you have to worry about. That's the same as what we tell our kids as it relates to sports. You know, we were able to do baseball and softball this season, and we told the parents, you know, the kids are all right in a sense. We're worrying about you. We're worrying about the umpires. We're worrying about the coaches. We're worrying about the staff. Those older persons that have underlying illnesses, you know, those are the persons that we're worrying about. Even when we managed baseball, we had the parents to bring out their own folding chairs to come out and they could practice social distancing and sit in their chairs. Everyone was required to wear their mask. We had hand sanitizer stations throughout. So, you know, we're transforming and more or less transitioning to the new norm, which is hand sanitizers, masks, temperature checks, social distancing.
Okay, cool. So what sports are considered non-contact?
Non-contact sports is swimming, baseball, track and field. Volleyball is considered a semi non-contact sport, but non-contact is we hosted volleyball. That's about it. Golf. You know, when you talk about the contact sports is flag football, tackle football, basketball, rugby. Those kind of things are considered contact sports.
Okay. And what phase will they be enabled to play that? Would it be phase 3, 4?
Right. Hey, listen, great question. So N.O.R.D is looking to allow football practice in phase 3 and potential to games in phase 4. And we're following the guidelines of the state. And that's what I had to make sure that our volunteer coaches understood, was that it's not Larry Barabino Jr. that's saying you can't play football. Mm-hmm. This mandate comes from the state and the governor's office and the state's health department, the mayor's office, and also our health department, that contact football will not be permitted until contact sports, phase 3. Let me give you an example. High school sports in Louisiana is not slated to start until, October. Football, October. And the reason it's slated for October because they were projected to be in phase 4 by October. N.O.R.D is following suit with the state guidelines and also with high school football. But however, also our mayor runs N.O.R.D. You know, she runs the city, so should I say. And if the mayor says the city of New Orleans isn't doing contact sports, you know, so.
I understand that. Everybody got to follow the rules. Okay. Yes. All right. So earlier you was talking about that you all had to transition to Zoom. You built an app. So can you walk us through that process, how technology assists you running your organization?
All right. So one thing I give credit to is my team. I have a phenomenal team. So I have a marketing person, Michelle Thomas, and I have a communications person, Ashley Morrison. Listen, hey, I stay in my lane. So I told them this is what we need to do. They got with our different directors. They set up the Zoom accounts. So like I said, with our Fit-NOLA classes, and believe it or not, we have more folks that's participating in our cultural programs. Like you can go onto N.O.R.D's website, nordc.org, nordc.org, and you can log on to piano lessons. You can log on to arts lessons. You can log on to guitar lessons. you can also go and you can click the link that will lead you to our Fitnola classes and those different programs, yoga and other classes that we do, bar exercises, line dancing, a host of classes that you can do. And all the links to those are on our website, because a lot of it is on our YouTube channel, N.O.R.D Commission. And of course, a lot of it's on our main website. So, but you can get all the links from our main website.
Okay, cool. Good. All right. So, if somebody who wants to be in a high level CEO position, what do you recommend them to do? Do you recommend them to just worry about concentrating on getting an education and maybe a master's degree as well, get some high level certifications, or just find out and work for somebody, do internship and work your way up?
Well, I give you my story. My path, is unique. You have some folks in the Parks and Rec, because this is Parks and Rec. You have some folks in the Parks and Rec field that you got to excuse me. My dog is coming up under the table on me.
No problem.
I'm trying to move him out the way. Oh, he think I'm playing with him. But you have some folks that that goes to, there's different fields that you could take in college as it relates to Parks and Recs and recreational management and things of that nature there, that you can do. And it's a whole field. New Orleans is unique in its way, but you have, and throughout this country, man, you have hundreds of Parks and Recs, because every city, every state, every municipality has its own Parks and Recs. And there's also the National Recs and Parks Association that persons can become members of. So, but in New Orleans here, we have our commission. It's a 13-person commission, with the mayor being one of those persons on the commission. And if you're looking to get into this field, I recommend you start as a volunteer. You start as a volunteer, you start as an intern, you find out what it's about, you look into it to see if this is your interest. You look at the patch. You also have to look at the salaries to see if these are the wages that you're willing to live with. Because of course you can only have one CEO at a time. And being a CEO of N.O.R.D, with the hopes of being there for years and for longevity. But there are other positions. There are the top positions at N.O.R.D. You have, like, I'm the chief executive officer. We have Johanna Brightman, who's the chief programming officer. You have Tamika Etman, who's the chief financial officer. You have Edgar Alexis, whose title is now changing to the chief of facilities. And so those are the top chief positions there. But we have directors that are high positions in there. There's an athletic director, a centers director, a management services director, a HR director. We also have a multi-programs director, aquatics director, and a maintenance director. So, and under those directors, they have managers. So you do have some high positions in N.O.R.D, but sometimes folks get in those positions and they look to retire, man. So, it's a great job. It's a great job. If you love serving the people and making a difference, it's definitely a great job.
Okay, cool. So being in a CEO level position, especially a big organization as N.O.R.D, how's that work-life balance working out for you?
Hey, listen, I love it. I mean, this is something that I love doing. Doing this, and of course, I'm involved in some organizations that's near and dear to my heart. But I personally, I tie everything in, because I'm a member of the board of directors, but I'm a member of Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club, where I am a member of the board of directors. Should I word that correctly? And also,
we both
yes,
are.
we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And I'm also a member of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Free and Accepted Masons of the state of Louisiana, where I'm a past master, which is one of the leaders in masonry. And also I'm a 30-30 last degree Mason, which is the highest you could be in masonry. And I'm a member of Platter Temple number 15 shrine. So I love it. You know, those are masonry is one thing that when I graduated college, you know, masonry is a way of life. Masonry helped shape my life, and the brothers that I met during those travels, you know, also participated in helping me become the man that I am.
Okay. Cool. So when was that moment that you knew that Larry Bambino was successful?
I'm still waiting on that moment.
Still waiting
Because
on it?
it's all on how you see success.
Okay.
But let me say this. Larry Bambino became successful when I met my mate, when I became a family man, when I wake up and I see my kids, my daughter, who is a graduate of Tulane University, and she is also just received a master's degree in licensure from SUNO, Southern University at New Orleans. My son is a junior at Southern University in Baton Rouge, where he's a baseball player, and he's living his good life. And that's how I measure my success. My success isn't measured on wealth. It's measured on my happiness. It's measured on my contributions to this world. It's measured on what I can do for others more than what others can do for me. That's how I measure my success. So folks often see success differently, because if you measure success around a job, today or tomorrow you could be laid off. Today or tomorrow your company can go out of business. Today or tomorrow you could be terminated. That doesn't mean you're not successful anymore. So it's all on how you measure your success. And my success is my family. My success is my path that I've traveled to become the man that I am. One thing that I say is, and my statement is, you cannot become what you want by remaining who you are. You have to change. You have to be prepared for change in order to grow.
All right. That's some power statement right there. You're getting praise in comments. Shout out to Senator Taylor.
And listen, give you my correction. I saw my Instagram page. It's actually LARABINO. It's at LARABINO is my Instagram.
Instagram. Okay. I got you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay. So got a couple more questions for you. So being in this turbulent environment that we're in right now, being a man of color, have you ever felt any racism or any slight because of the color of your skin, especially being a Black male?
Yes. And it's funny, but yes. And let me tell you how. I've traveled this country going to conferences, going to conventions, and often when I walk in the room, you often have people that we're from New Orleans. Let me say that we're from New Orleans. You know how they say in New Orleans, we greet everyone with a hug and a kiss. Hi, your mom and them. You know, shake hands, and so good morning, good evening, good night. You know, that's what we do in New Orleans. Well, I've been to places, I've been around people. I say, hey, good morning, and they walk past, but spoke to the person across from me. I talked to the person across from me and haven't talked to me. I've experienced that. And it's unfortunate. You talk about success. I've experienced that until I was introduced as the CEO of the N.O.R.D Commission. And then I've had folks say, oh, hey, how you doing? I want to introduce myself, because they see that as power. But to me, I tell my friends, listen, in my old neighborhood, it's real funny. My friends call me Lay, L-A-Y. And I go in the old neighborhood and I see them. They call, hey, what's up, Mr. Barabino? I'm like, no. I'm still that same guy you grew up with. I've just advanced professionally, but I'm still like the same guy. I haven't changed. I've always treated you with respect. I always laughed and joked respectfully with you. But you know it, when I come around Zulu, man, I talk to from the front door to the back door to the side yard. You know, my title don't make me who I am. I am who I am. You know, but I've listen, I have experienced it, especially and you feel the tension as a black man, you know, especially if I'm not in a suit or dressed up, if I'm in a t-shirt and some jeans and some tennis or etc., I'm looked at as any other black man that's walking through a neighborhood or walking through the mall or walking through it, you know, because at that point, you know, it's like, hey, it's another black guy in a t-shirt. I need to watch him. I've experienced it. I've experienced it, you know, going into a store and I walked into a high-end store with some jeans on and or some shorts on and a t-shirt and some slippers, you know, some casual summer slippers, some tennis, and I've felt someone staring at me, noticed someone walking around while I'm walking around. I've experienced it, you know, so. It doesn't matter the level of quote unquote success you achieve as it relates to professionalism. If I dress with my pants hanging and a t-shirt on and my G Nikes, I'm seen no different than nobody else because I'm a black man. I'm viewed different if I have on my suit and my tie and walk in an establishment. Of course, I'm viewed different. But if I have on my t-shirt with my gold chain and my shorts and my jeans and my tennis, I'm no different than the guy that works anywhere else. That a guy that whether getting off Burger King or getting off and working City Park or not working at all. You know, I'm a black man. Right. And so and I tell folks, man, I grew up in the St. Bernard housing project. So I've had my experience of being slammed on the hood of a police car, being searched for no reason, being stopped for no reason, being frisked for no reason. You know, I've had those experiences growing up. And then when you're looking at them, oh, what you looking at me like that for? You smart? And you know what? I sit back and I bite my lip and say, no, sir. Yes, sir. But one thing that my dad told me, and I give my dad credit. My dad said, son, when I was young, he said, let me tell you about the police. You get mad with them. He said, but it's one you. It's over 1,000 of them. You don't want to pick a fight with the police because there's one you and it's over 1,000 of them. You can't win that fight. You know, and to me, listen, my son just talking about, he's 20 years old. My son drives around in a real nice Jeep, and I tell him, I say, man, listen, a Jeep is nice. I say, but if the police stop you, it's yes, sir, no, sir. You provide your license, registration, insurance, and listen, you adhere to what they're telling you. Anything else, just do that. I don't care if they say we're going to take you to jail. You go. I'm going to handle everything else. I'm going to handle everything else. I don't need you fussing. I don't need you. You don't need to prove nothing. Yes, sir. No, sir. Give them what they need. I'll be there as soon as I get the call. You know, but it's unfortunate that we have to teach our young sons this. I fear for my son when he's out in the street. And listen, I fear for him, period, when he's out in the street. Not just the police. You know, I fear for what goes on in different communities and not just in the community, it happens all over. You know, I pray for my son, and he's away up in Baton Rouge and at school, and I talk to him several times a day, and I'm not calling him to check on, I'm just calling him to make sure I can still hear his voice. I talk to him in the morning when he finishes workout with baseball. I talk to him at night, wake him up sometimes, just calling to check on him. You know, and I just want to hear his voice. Make sure he's good. And it's unfortunate I don't have that same fear for my daughter, but I definitely have it for my son.
That's some good information right there. Wow. Well, thank you for being on the show. Can you let the people know where they can follow you on social media? All social media outlets, please, and N.O.R.D media outlets.
Sure. So listen, one of the key things I want you guys to do is go to the N.O.R.D website, nordc.org. Go on that website, look at the different programs. Two things we're doing right now. We're doing our learning hubs in partnership with the Mayor's Office of Youth and Families, so that those kids that don't have Wi-Fi at their house and having challenges, we have learning hubs where kids could register. We have 4 centers right now to where the kids are going during school hours and getting assistance while doing the online learning, the virtual learning at school. You can go to N.O.R.D's website to find that out. Also, what we're going to be doing starting after Labor Day is N.O.R.D is having the after school enrichment programs where you can go online. You'll be able to register your kids. They can get assistance at all 12 of N.O.R.D rec centers citywide. They can get assistance with their homework and their schoolwork, but also we have our cultural programs that'll be starting back up. Our ballet, tap, jazz, our cultural dance programs, our African dance programs. We partner with Curtis Pierre with Casa Samba up at Annunciation, with Miss Greer down in the Lower Ninth Ward. We have a host of partners offering programs, but also we have the arts and crafts, the piano lessons, guitar lessons, a host of programs that we're offering, and everything is on our website. You can also download N.O.R.D app. It's N.O.R.D Commission app. You could download it. We're doing the back to school supply giveaway. That's coming up. You need to go to N.O.R.D's website to find that out. We're going to be doing it from 3 locations, from Joe Brown, Treme Center, and also in Algiers. So go to the N.O.R.D website. Yes, sir. That's it right there. Go to the N.O.R.D website. You can pull it up. You can find it. We're doing a host of things. You can, for the parents, you can go on and you can do the Zoom classes. You can get your exercise on in your home. In your home, you can do the different exercise classes. Also with that, you can see there, you can do it on the YouTube classes. There's information about the app. You can find out about the different programs by just clicking on the apps and find out. But N.O.R.D also has Facebook. N.O.R.D also has Twitter. N.O.R.D has Instagram. You can follow those. Me personally, my Instagram is Larabino, Larabino. Also, my Twitter is at Larry Barabino Jr. And my Facebook, Larry Barabino Jr. Listen, we want you guys to stay safe during COVID. Make sure you're wearing your mask. Make sure you're practicing and following during the social distancing. And, we want you guys to be patient with us because your safety is what's first. As it relates to N.O.R.D tackle football, we're looking to do that in phase 3 to start it up. Phase 4, playing games. If we're not able to have tackle football this fall, we will have it in the spring. We've committed to transition it to the spring and do track and field in the fall. If we can't do tackle football, we'll do track and field. But also with that, for our young ladies, right now we're signing up for volleyball. You can go on the website, excuse me, and you can also go to the different rec centers and sign up for N.O.R.D volleyball for the young ladies. We're trying to get young ladies more involved in programming. So definitely, hey, Jared, man, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on. As a Zulu brother and as a friend, I appreciate you. I value you. You're doing a great job, a great thing with your podcast, man, and you definitely have my support. And listen, anytime you need me, I can come back on and give you more updates and information. Definitely.
Okay. I appreciate you coming on the show. You gave a lot of great insight and information, professionally and personally, and I appreciate that. That was good information, especially about success and how you feel being a Black man in America. So thank you for being on the show. I appreciate you as well. Remember, y'all, make sure you follow, subscribe, like, and share this video. We got the media out here supporting people who look like us that are in high level positions in organizations. We do more than just shoot basketball. We do more than act. We are here in the community. We are here working, trying to make everything better in our world. All right. So make sure you subscribe, like, and share. See you next week. Enjoy the rest of your Labor Day weekend. Oh, it's Memorial Day. Which one is it?
Labor Day.
Labor Day weekend. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend. See you next week. We out. Thank you.